everybody, and welcome back to Brainstorm Brewery.
In case Corbin didn't know, that was after hours.
Oh my god.
So, in honor of our set review, which I felt like we all did a bad job.
That's not, what did he say?
I'm drinking a beer that I hate.
Continue. Is this how you're punishing yourself?
Yeah, it's a Shorts peanut butter and jelly ale, which I thought, hey, I like peanut butter stouts, and Shorts does really good like fruit beer. Like my favorite by them is called Soft Parade, which is like a mix of berries in like an ale, and I like Soft Parade and I like peanut butter stout, so peanut butter jelly is going to be real good, and it tastes like shit. And I've made myself drink 5 of these over the last 18 months that they've been in my mini fridge, and now I'm down to the last one, and I keep staring at it, and I just want to get out of the fridge. So I feel like tonight is the night. I'm going to punish myself for how I felt I performed on the set review. You guys think you did fine. I felt like I could have done better for our listeners. So I put this shit beer that I hate in this handsome Brainstorm Brewery drinking glass that could be yours if you go to patreon.com/Brainstorm Brewery. And we are really loading up on the $20 tier where you get these glasses. $20 a month, it's $4 or $5 an episode. It's somewhat steep, but I feel like we could make you $20 a month very easily. So I feel like if you invest that $20 in being a patron, you have access to the Discord where you get insider tips. You get our after hours, which have no financial value, but they are hilarious. And you get these handsome drinking glasses that'll put you in the mood to make money. So, salute. I'm going to drink this shit beer. Thanks for listening, everybody. Welcome back to Brainstorm Brewery. It's episode 300
Right, exactly.
And I am DJ Johnson. I am a buyer for 95 MTG on the GP circuit. I run my own TCG player operation from home. And I also have a lot of other knowledge about very niche things, but that is the weirdest masochism kink I have ever heard out of Jason.
It's actually not that bad. I think it chilled over the last 18 months. It's a little bit more drinkable now.
Some people like getting whipped. Some people like drinking beer that they don't like. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know. Everybody's got their thing.
It's true.
Anyways, I'm Corbin Hostler. I'm the editor at Channel Fireball. I do Mighty Modern. On YouTube, I do event coverage all over the place. I work for the Overwatch League. So welcome, everybody, back to Brainstorm Brewery. I
didn't say what I did. I just said that I drink beer I don't like.
That's
the
list.
we got there.
List.
Yeah. The end.
I do more than both of you.
Oh, continue.
Nah, I don't do much, man. I just write an article for cool stuff. I write an article for MTG Price. And I'm on a podcast called The Brainstorm Brewery, and I'm on a different one called Director's Cut, and I'm the content manager for EDHREC.com, a role that is constantly shifting, but I really like the work we do for EDHREC, and I don't talk about EDHREC on this podcast because they pay me. They pay me because I used to talk about EDHREC on this podcast. So.
Yeah, it's as soon as they start paying you, it's off, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so this week we've got a normal episode plan, but we are going to follow up on Modern Horizons. We've got some cards that we didn't touch on last week that we want to talk about. Obviously, there's the Hogarth in the room, or whatever that stupid card is called.
Yeah, we don't even know what it's called because we didn't.
I believe it's Hogarth.
Well, we didn't get to it.
I don't think it's
week,
Hogarth,
but our guests missed it. We missed it.
No, it's not a big deal because I think there's not opportunity. Like, there's one card in every 3 sets that goes up like that. You're like, shit, we missed it. But like
the Arclight Phoenixes and the cards that are $5 on pre-release, there's one person in a moldy basement testing their butt off a Moto, and they're like, I broke it! And they get to buy the 55 copies, and congrats to them, but like, if you're not that person spending 45 hours a week testing Moto lists and grinding your butt off all the time to figure out what's broken, then don't worry about rolling dice and trying to figure out which card is the next Hogarth. It's just not
because
it's Hogarth. It's Hogak. I looked it up.
We're going to talk about
Hogak.
How you can look at a set in the future and figure out what to do after pre-release weekend, which is what we're all doing, as buyers and sellers. So we're going to let you look at the process, and that's going to make you way more money than if we'd gambled on a card like Hogak and hit. So this is going to be a very valuable episode. Thank you for tuning in. And everybody but me is glad we didn't do a 3-hour episode where I got super drunk in the middle and started shitting on the cards around the H's or I's alphabetically.
But we have decided we are going to bring some version of that back in the future, whether it's a Patreon perk or a YouTube exclusive or something.
Yeah, we
we're
think
gonna
as
do
a
something.
Patreon perk where we do a 3-hour episode where I get real drunk could be a lot of fun. So.
And that was
All
our
right.
segment where we promised something that we're going to do in the future. So this is going along smoothly.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on. Let's do breaking bulk first.
Breaking bulk time. Breaking bulk time. Break.
Oh, yeah, breaking bulk. There's so much good stuff.
It's a pick. Breaking bulk. The end.
Magic Origins Green Uncommon.
Elemental
Magic
Bond.
Origins.
Yeah, it's not hard. There's just one
Did
sitting in
it.
front of me, and I bought a bunch of them from Europe, so it's just like, shrug.
I got it. Did it.
Corbin knows the card because it was printed in not 2008.
Heck yeah. All right,
That's cool,
Jason.
man.
What do you got?
Kaladesh, Uncommon,
Oh, if you say artifact, I swear to God.
Artifact, Creature. That'll help.
Foundry Inspector.
the fox.
What fox?
The Filigree Familiar.
Filigree
Oh.
familiar.
No,
Is it a fox?
it's not a fox.
What other foxes are in Kaladesh, Corbin?
He's
The
gonna look
answer
up
is
foxes.
0.
I don't know what it is, man.
It's not Filigree Elemental.
It is a fox. I was
Yeah,
right.
I said what other foxes are in Kaladesh?
Oh, I didn't know it was a creature type in Kaladesh. I was guessing. I knew it was.
Do you
a
guys have
creature
Do you guys
type.
have another guess?
No, man.
Foundry Inspector, Filigree Familiar, Snarethopter.
No, it's Foundry Inspector.
Oh, I
a
said that
3
already.
colorless mana, 3/2 artifact, and it
I
makes your
literally
artifact
said
spells.
that.
Nah, I'm with Jason on this one. I didn't hear.
We have
I'm a little
audio
it sucks-
recording.
It sucks that I had to give it to you. Normally DJ's better at guessing these, but it is actually Foundry Inspector, which is like playable in Vintage, and like it's real good in EDH, and yeah, it just makes your artifact spells cost
That's
one less
really
to
weird,
cast.
Jason, because the spreadsheet right now says Filigree Familiar.
Well, you're only hosing the the patrons, so yeah. Foundry Inspector is it's above $1. And that's cool. And you can get like 40 cents on a buy list for these sometimes, and people just don't care about these. I get these in bulk from people who sold out of the cards that they played during that era that are no longer standard legal. That it's like, here's everything I bought. I bought at the wrong time and sold at the wrong time. So here you go. I picked it, and then I'm like, no, you didn't. So,
I would pay quarters on these if you brought them to me at a GP.
Yeah,
All
there
right.
you go.
I've got
And then
I've
you
got
have to ship 'em.
I've got a Planar Chaos White Common for you.
That set's banned.
Was reprinted recently in Ultimate Masters.
Oh. Was it at the same rarity?
No, it was upshifted from common to uncommon. It's about 75 cents. The new one's about 50 cents, the old one's 75 cents. Wow, I might have stumped you.
I'm trying to go through the Planar Chaos set.
Dawn Charm?
It is Dawn Charm.
Woo!
Dawn Charm, two mana and white instant. Choose one, prevent all combat damage will be dealt this turn. Regenerate target creature or counter target spell that targets you. Actually does quite a bit, and I don't know whether it's just a popular commander card or casual card or whatever, but the card was actually like $1 or something before the reprint. And even now it's 50 to 75 cents. So if you've got any Ultimate Masters hanging out, and I don't really know what happened to that set after everyone hated it and
This
forgot
isn't
about it.
EDH. It's not EDH doing this.
It seems actually it's kind of interesting
Oh,
in EDH
you know what? It
though,
could be
right?
Feather.
No, it's been worth money for years.
Yeah, that's a good point. Good.
I don't
It's
actually
just
know.
a casual. It's just a 60 card casual card.
It's just a sweet card though, if you think about it. Even in Commander, like
Well,
does
anyone
actually a whole
who's
bunch of
been
things.
blown out by this in Limited knows how good it can be.
Yeah.
Like, this was a card you actually had to play around during that era.
Yeah, that card's great. Okay, so breaking bulk down, let's move on to the set. Now let's talk about Hogak. We mentioned it. It's now $30 or whatever joke price it is. I think we were all in agreement. If you have any, you should sell them, and if you don't, you should not buy them. I believe that the deck also placed like half of the top 16 or something absurd on the last Modern Challenge or Modern
Is
Leagues or
the
whatever,
Dredgevine
right?
deck. So like everything in the Dredgevine deck went up, like Vengevine and
Well,
Alter Dementia, which is also in this set, went up as a result of this.
I honestly hadn't considered Altered Dimension in Modern much. I think this is a sweet reprint for Commander, but yeah, I mean, I guess it definitely, obviously makes sense to pair it with Stitcher Supplier, right? That's a devastating, just start to a deck. So all of that said, the London Mulligan is here to stay now, and quite clear that they're going to be making ban decisions. That's the rule. You make the decisions within the framework of the rules. The rules aren't changing. Cards might get banned or not banned. So if this deck's broken, and keep in mind, it's the very, very early part right now, right? We'll see if, this isn't the first time we've seen Bridgevine in particular come out of nowhere and explode. Now, it certainly seems better this time around, but if they need to do something, they will, but we'll see if the format can adjust. And one of the things that it's adjusting with is Force of Negation, which is up to $25. So I do think we talked on this podcast last week about how the card was a lot better than people were giving it credit for.
Force of Negation?
I just want to talk about how they've made Delve in a set 3 times and still haven't learned. And neither have we. Like, as a community, they made Delve the first time, and Tomestalker's absurd, and they're like, whew, okay, that mechanic is probably not. What about Treasure Cruise? Oh, geez, what happened?
It's like
what happened? Treasure Cruise. Okay, what if we made an 8/8 tramp? Oh God, it happened again. Oh Jesus. Oh gosh, silly us.
Okay, affinity for artifacts. This time it'll be different.
It's because, look, the answer is because it says you can't spend mana to cast this spell. We all thought that would be fair. It was not.
And speaking of free spells, as much as Force Negation is up, a card that grew as a greater percentage of its initial cost, Force of Vigor, is up to about $6. There were 16 copies of that across the top 8 decks or something absurd like that. So Force of Vigor... if you listen to anybody that plays any green deck in Modern, they could have told you that's busted. It's a better Ancient Grudge. So, yep, Force of Vigor, I expect to stay above the $5 mark, which is sort of a magical cutoff that I like to use in my analysis.
By the way, multiple Force of Vigor decks top-8'd the Vintage Challenge over the weekend.
Well, that
doesn't surprise anybody.
That doesn't surprise me at all. I don't know
just
where they're
cool
getting green spells to pitch to it, though. But
Sylvan Library and Oath of Druids, man.
Yeah, I guess.
And Deathrite
you draw a
and
second Oath of
Leovold
Druids.
And
Kumina Speaker, Merfolk Branchwalker, perhaps Gaia's Skyfolk.
All vintage playable. So. I like to look at the number of cards in a set that are above $5 because I kind of think there's like an equilibration that happens. There are just only so many cards that are going to end up above $5. I think War of the Spark is weird because I think you're going to have a lot of $3 Planeswalker cards in like rare and uncommon. So that's going to confound that a little bit. But currently, like 30 seconds after the set was released, but it's old news because another set's been released since then. War of the Spark currently has 13 cards above $5, whereas Modern Masters 3 had 27. So if you look, Modern Masters 3 was an $8 booster pack set, and War of the Spark is a $4 booster pack set. So if you figure Modern Horizons is a $6 booster pack set, you'd expect between 13 and 27 cards to be above $5, soonish. So there are currently 31. So I kind of think that about 10 cards are going to drop off below the $5 mark that are currently above. And I have some strong opinions on that. That's all I got to say about that.
Well, good. All right. Let's talk about 5 cards under $5, Jason.
Yeah. So I kind of looked at some trending data, crunched some numbers a little bit. I looked at stuff that was like initially kind of fell in price, but then like came up recently. So like the weekly price trend is down a little bit, but the daily price trend is up a little bit. Mm-hmm. And I found 5 cards that are currently under $5, and I don't think they're going to go above 5 necessarily on all of them, because some of them are uncommon, but I think that their price will go up. So here are 5 cards.
Hold up before we get into that. I just want to say Jason brought this up before the cast. He said, I've done my homework. I've come prepared. I have 5 cards under $5 I think we should talk about. And I was like, whoa, what? Because I heard alliteration and my mind just locked on. I was like, whoa. That's how segments That's how segments get created, buddy.
That's how Arby's menus get created. 505 sounds like Steak and Shake. You're like, 505, everybody.
But for real, let us know if you like that idea, because I actually think it's kind of cool. 5 cards under $5 that we think could go up every set, right? See what people think. I'm just throwing it out there. It's a cool idea. So
we're gonna miss the goddamn Hogak every time, but we're gonna make you infinitely more money just telling you what is like 25 cents. It's gonna be like $1.25. It'll be buy a listing for 75 cents, and if you triple up on that easy stuff, you made more money than if you bought a double up on some mythic that nobody caught. So hey,
I thought you were going to say if you bought a double up at Arby's.
I haven't eaten Arby's in so long. I don't know if it's because I don't like Arby's or because The Simpsons made fun of it, and I don't think you're allowed to like Arby's.
They have the better version of the Shamrock Shake.
The Jamocha Shake?
I don't know. It's whatever they put out of their green slime or whatever on St. Patrick's Day, and it is the A tier Shamrock Shake, whereas Shamrock Shake itself from McDonald's is like a D tier.
All right. Last time I went to an Arby's, I was like, man, I haven't been to Arby's forever. Is there a reason I stopped coming to Arby's that I forgot about? And the cashier's like, that'll be $14.68. And I was like, oh, that's why. Because it's $14 for one person. All right. I like Collector Oof. Eefy?
Oofy.
I always thought it was Yuffie.
Oof.
I don't know, man.
It's collector's egg in French. Collector's oof. I don't know. Look it up, man. Who cares? I like the collector's brownie. It's currently about $5, but its price trends are pretty strong. It's up about 50% this week.
I just googled it.
Oh, good to know.
What is an oof? Old-fashioned word for goblin or elf.
Cool.
Oof.
There you go.
So it's like goblins and you think it's like a goblin and an elf bred together? Wasn't that how they got the Uruk-hai or something? I don't know. Anyway.
That was
a really weird reference.
That was something like that, man.
Meat's back on the menu, and Collector's Oof should be back on the menu. I think it goes above $5. I think it's going to be one of the rare cards that's because we have 31 cards above $5. I expect it to be 20, so actually more cards would need to fall for something below $5 to go up. But I think Collector's Oath is going to get there. I think it does stuff you want to do in Modern, and I think it has redundancy with Mycosynth Lattice, which is a much more expensive card. So
I just think putting that effect onto a creature is just so good that
Green Sun 4.
It just doesn't even matter. Well, you can't Green Sun 4 to Modern.
About how cards being reprinted as creature versions of themselves are worse, like Magus's Magi,
exactly.
as like Magi, and they're like, oh, it's a creature now, it's bad. Magus of the Wheel is awful. But in Modern, being a creature is significantly more relevant and a positive effect.
It's positive a lot of times, yeah.
I mean, you can't card it in, which sucks, but you can like vial it in, and you can Finale of Devastation. Well, that's the thing people are doing.
They've actually made clear that and this is really interesting design philosophy on Wizards. Like, they hate tutors, right? The tutors they cause shuffling, they cause redundancy in games, whatever, right? There's just lots of negative effects of putting tutors in games, and yet they have demonstrated that for an effect that they stayed away from since I don't know, however long ago to very recently. It's probably been at least a decade of design where they just basically refused to. They costed tutors very strongly and heavily, right? But then they come along, they print Eldritch Evolution, and then they're like, you know what? We can make it even more broken. Let's print Neoform.
Neoform, yeah.
So now between Collected Company, Court of Calling, Eldritch Evolution,
Vanifar.
and Neoform, Vanifar. Although that wouldn't make sense. It's on a creature, right? But Vanifar, and then the green Finale or whatever too. It's just like you can just tutor for whatever you want in Modern now, as long as that something is a green creature, basically. So this is a big deal.
You can't get a Kiki Jiki; they're fine with it. You know,
the green Finale.
Well, Neoform grabs Gristlebrand, so
yeah.
Green Finale grabs the Tulpa and hits them for 24.
It's just crazy to me, right? Like a blue-green tutor directly into play. Like, that's just so powerful.
Yeah, well, hey.
So there you go. It's a real thing. Like, basically, I think there's enough of these now that, like, whatever that form looks like, and right now Neoform combo with Gristlebrand's the most broken thing, right? But there's, between the fact that there are now 8 copies of Eldritch Evolution, essentially, and I've played a lot of Eldritch Evolution in Modern, and now Force of Vigor possibly in the sideboard, Collector Oof helping with those matchups. Like, there's a lot in Modern that can be built. It's going to be an entire archetype of decks, right? An entire umbrella of decks are just going to be the Mavericks of Modern, right? You know, just
you could have
green
like a
value
whole
decks, whether that's
you could have
hate
like a
bears
whole
or whatever.
Silver Bullets sideboard.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
I miss
exactly.
the days of Birthing Pod when you could main deck one Aethersworn Candidatus, one Spellskite, one Orzhov Pontiff.
Yeah, well, that's my point. They've demonstrated that they are willing to get closer to that than they have since Pod, I guess, or longer. Consider Pod the mistake. All right, let's move on.
Number 2, Winds of Abandon.
What's that do?
You know, it abandons things with the winds. It's like the better Settle the Wreckage or worst Settle the Wreckage.
Oh gosh, yeah. All right.
Depending on
it's a 2-mana sorcery. Exile a target creature you don't control. For each creature exiled this way, its controller gets a basic land card. They get it tapped. For 6 mana, you can overload it and hit everything. Exile everything you don't control.
So this was pre-selling for like $10. That's absurd. But then it went down to $2.
Yeah, it's $2.
That's not correct either.
How good is this card in Commander?
I don't know yet, but I kind of think people prefer it to Settle. People are comparing it to
Definitely better than Settle,
Cyclonic Rift, which is ridiculous. It being a sorcery kind of hurts it, and there are a lot of effects that do this for around 6 mana, but
functionally not that different than Hallowed Burial, only perhaps worse, you know?
But you can just get one creature with it, and I think that's...
True.
I think that flexibility, it's kind of a modal card.
Yeah.
And people like modal cards because they can do 2 completely different things depending on the situation. So I think wins at $2 is probably wrong, and I think the fact that it went all the way down but is trending back up. I looked at cards where like their weekly price trend was down, but their daily price trend was up, and I think this is recovering. And I don't know if it gets above $5. Probably not, but I think 2 is probably too low.
Okay.
Especially on a $6 booster pack set.
Okay. What's next?
Vesperlark, which is a very cheap uncommon, and there's not too much room for it to go up already. It like bottomed out at $0.25, and now it's up around 50 cents. But I still think this is like a buck.
Well, it's all going to come down to how much of the set gets open. I don't know about you guys. Our pre-release and the hype around the set was honestly less than I expected. We had like 27 people with the pre-release. It wasn't like 40.
Because there was just a pre-release like 35 seconds ago.
Yeah, and there's going to be another one in another 30 seconds. And it's not, it's just a set of some of them are reprints, right? Like, it's just a thing.
Low percentage of them are reprints. It's 15% approximately.
Yeah, but it's just like it just didn't really it just didn't catch on in the same way that a standard set would, right? And that's fine.
Sure.
That's fine. Like it didn't come out at a good time, but my point is what this tells me is that I think the cards in this set are going to hold a high price, and whether that's Force of Negation or whatever else is expensive right now, or it's just something like Vesperlark climbing up to $1 within 6 months because it turns out there just wasn't that much of this open and everyone forgot about it.
Yeah, I'd bet on that. Like 6 months is sort of the period where I'm happy to have cards and then have them be in my binder at that point.
Right. So right now is when you so I love this pick from Jason because Vesperlark. And this, just to clarify for those who don't remember, it's a 3-mana 2/1 flyer that when it leaves the battlefield, you get a creature card power 1 or less into play.
It's a
from
baby
your
graveyard.
graveyard. Yeah, from your graveyard into play, and it has Evoke too. So it just goes in all of the decks that Revelark goes in, plus some more that just goes into them in Commander probably. And yeah, this is just way too cheap, but I think that there's going to be a higher ceiling on these, and they're going to get there faster than maybe we might expect, just because of how much this is going to be stepped on.
So I think you probably try to like pull these out of Draft Chaff and just like get them in collections in bulk, but I don't hate targeting the foils on this. And I don't say that a lot because I don't really know how foils work. Sometimes I'm very right, and I was like, how could people be so blind? And then sometimes I'm really wrong. Like
this seems like the kind of card you foil out.
I think foil dramatic reversal goes from 1 to 3, and then it went from like 1 to 10, and I was like, oh, I should have bought some. So, Vesperlark just seems like one of those cards where you're just gonna
play it for a very long time in a lot of decks.
Yeah.
Just one of those cards.
And it's gonna be weird to reprint, so I think it could go a very long time without a reprint. Although, Commander deck maybe. Number 4,
what's next?
I like Arkham's Astrolabe.
What does that do?
It costs 1 snow mana, and it's basically one of those eggs cards. When it comes into play, draw a card, and then you can tap a mana and it for a mana of any color.
Yeah, this is interesting. It is an eggs card, and it costs snow mana, which is it. I don't think this really changes anything in Modern necessarily, but it is just another piece, right?
But it's
although this one's better for the Time Civ type combo, that sort of old combo, combo.
And
deck.
this wasn't anything I picked on the playability of the card or how I perceived its impact will be. This was merely an analysis of the data I did, where its weekly price trend was down, but its daily price trend was up.
That's great. Okay, what's next?
Undead Augur. I'm actually surprised this ever went down, because this seems kind of like a slam dunk of a card to me. Undead Augur is a 2 black mana zombie wizard, so those are both relevant. When it or another zombie dies, you draw a card and lose a life. So it doesn't say when another zombie or wizard or another creature. So it's not quite, some of the other cards that get played in like the Tesa
It's not
decks,
Blood Artists or whatever, but it's a tribal thing.
Well, it's not the Blood Artist effect. It's the
it's a Phyrexian Arena.
Sorry. The I said the.
No, like
I can't think of the card.
I can't think of the single. I play them in Tesa. There's
Grim
a bunch.
Specs. Grim Horror Specs.
Yeah, Horror Specs, stuff like that. There's like the Midnight Reaver or whatever.
Yeah. Midnight Reaver. Guilds of Ravnica.
From Ravnica, Guild of Ravnica. Yeah, so like that kind of effect. It's not quite as good, but like still, this is like it's a 2 mana 2/2 zombie, so that's good. And then it's perfectly on curve for those decks. And then like keeping your hand full when your stuff dies, which is repeatedly, is going to draw you a ton of cards in the decks where this is good. Like a Zombardment type deal, some sort of Aristocrats type deal, because zombies, you play Bloodghast and Gravecrawler in Aristocrats type deck. So this is just going to be a card that like people like, why was this ever 50 cents? So just based on...
Wayward Servant is the 2-drop zombie that's worth money, correct? I'm double checking here. Yeah, so Wayward Servant is a breaking bulk, not like a great one. It's worth about 30 cents, but it's been climbing. I mean, it was only 15 cents a couple months ago, but that's the 2 mana 2/2 zombie for Mom and Ket. Is
that the white black one?
Yeah, it is. Yep. Whenever another zombie enters
play.
Exactly. My point is, even that is like a card that I am asked for a non-zero number of times, and it's also showing, like that long-term breaking bulk growth you want to see. So I tend to agree with you. This is the precedent is there for people wanting these uncommon zombie types, and then this one has everything else in the set going for the price.
Yep.
So I like this one as well. All right, what's next?
Well, real quickly, I wanted to talk about a few cards I think could go down.
Okay.
I don't like the Canyon, Waterlog, Grove, that whole cycle of the lands.
Really?
You don't like them at the 20?
I don't like them
25?
at their current price. The one, like 25. I think that's a little high.
I don't know.
I think that one or two of them go very high, and the rest go lower. And I don't know which one that is yet.
And but like,
it's
so weird because like the red-white one is the most useless in Modern, but the most useful.
Red-white one seems very strong for Burn. You just don't play Inspiring Vantage anymore.
It is enormously important.
Oh, you're right, Burn, because they're playing Lightning Helix in that.
Well, this whole thing is great for Burn because people take more damage off their lands, which is good for Burn, and Burn gets to turn its lands into spells in the late game. It's actually a huge upgrade for Burn. But that's just one deck.
I'm kind of thinking like the blue-green one probably goes down because it's the second most expensive right now, but blue-green needs this the least.
Yeah, it's also not really... It doesn't really have anywhere to go.
Yeah, I don't like Pyromancer. I think it's very good in a deck that nobody plays anymore.
Well, that's true.
And I don't know if this is enough to get the deck going again. And Morophon and Yawgmoth, I think legendary creatures have a tendency to go down, and the stuff that they're in the decks with go up.
Right.
I don't think there's going to be enough demand sustained, even for Yawgmoth at its current price. And I think the Mox is terrible, and I think it's going to crash.
What do you mean the box?
The Mox.
The Mox. Yeah, Mox Tantalite. Yeah.
I think it's tantalizingly bad. Don't care for it.
There you go. What about? I
actually think Flourishing could have some downside. That's just based on analysis of the data. That's not how I feel about the card, but I kind of people think it's doubling season, but it's way less useful than doubling season.
Doubling season, by the way, $60 again. Cross that threshold this weekend.
And I'm a guy that plays these kind of cards, and I really tend to like stuff like Flourishing, but I think it's got downside at its current price, so I think you kind of want to move into some of the stuff that's around $5 to $10 and get out of the stuff that's 25 plus. Some of it. I just, whatever, the stuff I named. So that's how I feel about the set, and as much as I would have liked to have done that last week, we didn't have any numbers last week. Right. To do that. So I kind of think this is the week you make more money versus like getting lucky. I pre-ordered a bunch of Italis for $2 and I feel good about that, but like I still don't recommend that kind of crap.
Well, this is what
who's done this for almost a decade.
That's what I brought up last week. It's like, a lot of times we do the set review and we always do it at the same time, but when's the last time we stopped and asked ourselves, or our fans ask us, or us ask our fans, is that when you want the set review? Is that the best way for us to look at this? It's very, like you said, there's coming back to it with data this week, maybe, and then we're not all just like, don't want to talk about it. So I'm just saying, there's, I think we're learning a lot here, and we want feedback from fans on what they want, because we always struggle with set reviews just to make them compelling for everyone, because like Jason said, we're never going to get the Hogak. We're not pros, because the pros don't get it, right? Like, nobody is just ahead of the game anymore. So it's not even like having a pro on. While that's obviously better and we like to do that, that's no guarantee of not missing. It just makes them look bad too. It puts a bunch of pressure on them when it's not a realistic expectation to expect anyone to get that. So I think that this might actually have more value. So let's, I'm interested to hear what the fans think.
I'm not interested to hear what the fans think.
Let's
because either they're too big of fans of ours to like for anything they say to like matter.
Too much of a fan to think rationally.
Yeah, our super fans aren't objective. Like every time Narc gives me a compliment, I'm like, yeah, but what could I do to upset you? And then people who aren't fans of ours, they're idiots because they're not fans of ours, and like I don't care what someone who's not a fan of mine. Too dumb, too stupid to recognize the value of the best podcast ever. So what are they gonna say that's at
best podcast ever? He said.
So really, our fans are, they're dick riders. They're not gonna be objective, and our opponents, they're not objective either because they're too
we have
stupid,
opponents now.
Yeah, our proponents and our opponents. So like,
are we winning or losing?
Nobody can give us advice, is what I'm saying. So don't ask anybody.
I see.
What they think.
So what you're saying is we're also above criticism.
We're unworthy of, but also above it. Yes. So
what I like to hear.
Schrodinger's.
That's completely sound logically. You can't find a seam in that logic. So good luck with that.
I agree.
Okay.
right. Moving on. Let's bring it back. We're doing this week again. Finance 101. We're bringing this back as an old segment. Literally, it started with episode 101. We're now on episode 340 something.
Corbin, exactly. I'm audibling our Finance 101 because I want to talk about something and then it relates to my pick of the week. And I'm going to segue seamlessly into my pick of the week from our Finance 101.
We're all right, my man. Take it away.
I defy you to be a bigger asshole right now.
Says the one who just said our fans are assholes, our fans are assholes.
Our fans aren't assholes. They just can't be objective because they love us too much, and it's our fault for being so awesome.
I see. I thank you for
too lovable, as he.
So, when Magic cards spike, one of the first things I really like to do instead of chasing the hype. So
he hasn't told us what this topic is.
What's the topic? What's the topic? Like, what are we? The 1,000.
I did 15 minutes of prep to talk about arbitrage, but yeah, definitely call it audible and don't tell me what you're doing.
We are talking about reprints in sealed product and cards that spike in sealed products.
Okay, I understand. Continue.
So
this is not Finance 101, I don't think.
I think it's Finance 101.
Okay.
So when a Magic card spikes, the instinct of a player might be to chase the card and try to find it for very cheap while it is still being snatched up and grabbed all around the internet as people panic. So like Gravecrawler is a good example of a card that was in a pre-con and then it spikes because Vengeline's doing really good and then everybody's like, oh, I gotta check TCG. Oh my god, they're selling out. Check Star City, check Card Kingdom. Panic. One of my favorite things to do is to check to see if that card was ever in a sealed product where the card is guaranteed to be in that deck or pack or whatever. So
for instance, where was Gravecrawler?
It was in an event deck.
There you go.
And a lot of these times, those cards that are in that event deck and cards that get that sort of supplemental printing don't have an ancillary set symbol to tell you that. So my favorite example of this when I wrote about it was Chainer's Edict, because Chainer's Edict spiked off of Pauper play. It went from $1 to $8 or something absurd. Everybody lost their mind. People are complaining about how Chainer's Edict is too expensive for Pauper. It needs a reprint. And then I quietly went over to eBay and bought several copies of the Torment Precon, the ones that come in the cardboard.
2 or 3 of them in there.
Which had 2 Chainer's Edicts. It also had a couple other random $1 uncommons. Tainted Isle is, I believe, one of them. And they were $10. That random Torment Precon that had sat on the shelves for a decade and a half, $10. And that got you 2 Chainer's Edicts, 2 River of Tears, and Tainted Isle was the card. And then some other random card that I didn't care about, and some bulk rares. And those don't move. They take days, if not weeks, to move. So another famous example of this is the 2015 Red-White Precon, where that was the giant Precon. The deck was was very, very bad.
Blade of Selves?
Blade of Selves, Urza's Incubator,
Magus of the Wheel, Thought
and
Vessel,
Fiery Confluence.
Confluence.
I just remember the sweet cards.
It had Gisela. It had a lot of very sweet cards that were unavailable in other products or very hard to find in other products. So while Fiery Confluence is $12, Urza's Incubator just spiked to $15 off of the 2017 Tribal deck list. There's these, I don't even remember the Kalemne. Kalemne's the iconic card in the deck. Yeah. Those are sitting on the shelves for $50, and the deck's got $80 worth of stuff in it. So there's the Finance 101 here is when cards spike, you don't want to be the one chasing the card on those easily accessible platforms. The first thing you want to do is think, was that ever in a sealed product or a commander deck or a theme deck or some weird event deck for back in the day? Like Verdant Catacombs was in an event deck, and not a lot of people know that. It was in a 2014 or 2012, I think, core set. It was like a vampire mono black tribal deck that all the fetch land did was bring back a Bloodghast or something stupid, but Verdant Catacombs was in there. And those event decks have obviously price corrected, and you can't find them for less than $100 or something absurd. But like that's the kind of thinking you want to have when cards spike. And my pick of the week because of that is the Peer Through Time 2014 Teferi deck list. Because Teferi spiked recently. It spiked to $30-$40 because
of Oathkeeper.
I mean, Oathkeeper or War of the Spark, or the fact that it lets you use your Planeswalkers as instants. It's really hard to pinpoint exactly why that card spiked because there's multiple facets. It's a very good Oathbreaker. It's also just very good in all the Atraxa Super Friends list. People are jamming with War of the Spark.
Which Teferi are you talking about?
The Peer Through Time 2014 version, which is Teferi Timebender.
Okay, there you go.
The one that combos with Chainveil.
There's just a lot of Teferis.
Yes, it is the mono blue 6 mana one. So that card's
the one that can
recently.
be your commander.
Yes.
Great.
And technically there are other Teferis that can be your commander too, which is frustrating enough.
That's true.
It is the Planeswalker one that can be your commander now that we've identified this card 5 times. But so that deck, I had a lot of copies in it on my cart on eBay, and I tried to purchase them, and my order was canceled. Unfortunately, the seller made a dubious claim that could not be verified that they had sold out on other platforms.
Not that he's salty.
But another card that is in this deck list that not a lot of people think of is Sapphire Medallion. That card is very, very strong with the new Urza. Urza, what's your Sapphire Medallion tap for mana?
It was strong before really all the medallions are on the move.
Yes, Sapphire Medallion is very good, specifically because it is the blue medallion, and blue doesn't get its share of ramp. So,
but also you can tap it for mana.
Yes, Sapphire Medallion was $8 or $10 before this, but lets you curve into Urza turn 3, and then you get your Urza token, and then you can tap your Sapphire Medallion and your Urza token to play another mana rock, and then you're just going off the next turn. So Sapphire Medallion is currently $13 market price, and the TCG median is $20. So those two spikes conjoined are something that you very, very much want to look out for that 2014 pre-con on the shelves at like your LGS or maybe just like some backwater website like Card Shark or something like that. Those are what you don't want to look for $20 Sapphire medallions. You want to look for the pre-con that has a $40 Urza, a $20 Sapphire medallion, and then a Cyclonic Rift or Rite of Replication, and then 8 other cards that are like $8.
A bunch of $3 cards, because a lot of the stuff from that year, like the black cards or the blue cards, some of those like bulk rares are going to like $3-4.
Yeah,
just on the basis of like what I guess time.
Yeah, and I mean, I had these cards in my Card Kingdom cart because I was checking the actual value of what I could get out of this deck. And this 2014 Pure 3-time deck, it has a Cage Sun, it has a Commander Sphere, it has a Cyclonic Rift, it has Domineering Will and Crowd of Doom, which are a couple dollars on Card Kingdom buy list. It has just all these absurd cards like Pongify and Sky Diamond, and then it has your Soul Ring, obviously. It's got your Swiftfoot Boots, your Thran Dynamo. Like, it has just all this value. And I got sort of bodied in the fact I couldn't process my cart, but I mean, these are the effects you want to look for, and I think the Pure 3-time deck is one that you will be able to find if you look hard enough.
All right, so the Finance 101 takeaway here, very simply, it sounds like, be aware of sealed product. Now, for those who don't know, when we first started this podcast 7-8 years ago, the prevailing wisdom was that you wanted all the sealed product you could get. You wanted to buy sealed product. You wanted to hoard sealed product. It always went up. And then they started printing all of the product, and that's stopped happening. Yes. And it doesn't happen anymore. So these days, it's pretty easy to dismiss sealed product as something to even look for on the secondary market, which is why, as DJ pointed out, there's something to look for there. So keep that in mind.
It is guaranteed value. You are allowed to look up all the cards in that sealed product. Like, Bloodbraid Elf got reprinted. Or not, Bloodbraid Elf got unbanned in Modern. And everybody's scurrying Bloodbraid Elf's $12 a TCG player. It's that SpongeBob gif where everybody's running around in his brain and papers are on fire. But, like...
Never seen it.
I went to eBay and I bought a couple Plane Chase packs because Blood Brace is in a Plane Chase deck. It's in the weird Cascade one that comes with a Shardless Agent. Like, that's the kind of stuff you want to look for.
It comes with a Maelstrom Wanderer, a Shardless Agent, a Peregrine Drake, Explosive Vegetation, like that.
Pretty sick.
And a bunch of planes.
Yeah, that product was fun. All right. Pick of the week, Jason and I. What do you got, Jason?
I have a uncommon card from Ice Age that Urza's making go up, and like just it's a 0 mana rock that never really got any love, except people are starting to notice this card, Jeweled Amulet. 0 drop, you pay a mana and put a charge counter on it, and then you note what color of mana. And then you can get that exact color of mana back out when you tap the amulet. So it takes a while to charge, but it is a 0 drop artifact that can ramp you. And if you look, it's about $2, and compare that to like Finhorn Elves, which is a common from that set, that's about $2.50, and Glacial Chasm, which is also uncommon, and that's about $3 with other printings. So I think Jeweled Amulet's got upside at $2, and a lot of Ice Age was open for whatever reason. It's a shit set, but like lots of people opened it because that was was what we had at the time.
Yeah.
If you didn't play Magic back in 1996, man, it was dire.
You didn't know. I did not play Magic then.
So, yeah, Ice Age was a bad set, but this is a card with upside, and people are noticing it, and it should be fairly easy and cheap to accumulate a lot.
I think that's another dual forked reason that card is going up, because it also is just like another one of those
dual forked reason. We only use the most scientific of terms here on Brainstorm Brewery.
It lets you.
I do like that.
It's Oathbreaker too, because it's a guaranteed way to cast a 3-mana Planeswalker in turn 2.
Are we really gonna have to start talking about this? And I'm not even saying that's bad. But like, is that the level we're at where we have to start talking about Oathbreaker for stuff?
EDH Rec decided to code an Oathbreaker section, but we're giving it a shot.
We're giving it a shot.
I mean, Oathbreaker is another Tiny Leaders now. We will decide if it is still another Tiny Leaders in a year.
If it's around in a year.
I mean, I don't. Yeah, I guess.
Like Tiny Leaders being hype was still reason to like buy certain cards that would be hyped up and then sell them immediately.
I mean, the thing is, they're fundamentally different. So
I think the thing about
there's just a fundamental difference between multiplayer and not, in terms of what they can catch on. So
I don't think this is bad because Brawl was bad. I think this might be good because Brawl was bad.
I don't know at all. It's also possible it just gets broken, which was the problem with tiny leaders. So I don't know. I don't even care. Basically, I just want to know when I'm supposed to care about it. That's all.
I've done a ton of research into it. I'm not finding anything actionable other than like cards that were already good are good in this format. Like, did you know that?
I'm just interested if people are going to play it, man. That's all I want to know.
I mean, I'm going to make one deck probably. I think I'll make Nissa and Nissa's Triumph.
Well, send us some emails, everybody, which is a thing. New listeners that we do emails from time to time on here. Occasionally entire episodes. Sometimes we even read emails from the Vault, which is when we go back and write an email.
Don't tell new people about the Vault yet.
Oh, the Vault's a secret? Okay, never mind. Vault's
the Vault
a secret.
is where non-patron emails end up. And then we'll read them in 5 years. Right?
Yeah, that's basically how it goes. But send us your emails anyways. All right, I'm going to go out on a limb with my pick of the week. Take a page from Jason's book, 5 cards under $5 here. I got one from Modern Horizons.
You're going to pick a card that didn't already go up this week? That's ballsy. You've never done that before.
I'm going to pick Icefang Coatl.
Ooh.
Coatl.
That is a card that had some upside. Like I said, the weekly trend down, daily trend up.
Right. And more than that, I think people hated on the card because it wasn't Baleful Strix, just like people hated on Force of Negation because it wasn't Force of Will.
I mean, we all hated on that card last week.
To an extent that we didn't think like that snow deck's there yet or whatever, right? But we did say the card's going to be cheap and then you buy them. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing. The card is then spent a week staying at $2 and now it's climbed up to $2.25. That tells me this isn't going to be $1. It's going to be Core Set 2020 in like a week. It's probably just at its bottom. Whether it grows to $5 or $3 or $10 is a function of things I can't control. But I do think it's at its bottom and it's a very powerful card. So, and when it does jump, and it's going to eventually jump. Eventually they're going to do snow and the card's going to jump. And when it does jump, it's going to go from 2 to 10 if that's where it's at. So sure. It's just not going to get cheaper than it is right now. So it's my pick of the week.
I can agree.
Yeah, it's a nice cheap pickup, and if you totally whiff, your losses are pretty low buying at the current price. At like it's relatively low risk.
Yeah. All right. There you go, everybody. Anything else you guys want to touch on this week?
I will be at Magic Fest Washington D.C. this coming weekend. I will be with 95 MTG. I really appreciate everybody who's stopped and said hi and thanked me for our work on the show. I get a surprising number of people every weekend when I'm at a GP who stop by and appreciate the work, and I appreciate that you appreciate us.
Yeah, for real. I'll vouch for this. DJ works. We all work hard at these shows. It's impossible not to. But DJ works very long hours at these shows. So if you are at them, feel free to go up and say hi. I'm sure he appreciates it. I will also be at DC this weekend. So if anybody wants to come up and say hi, I'll be running around coverage. We're doing video coverage this week. It's gonna be pretty cool. And then I'll be at the Mythic Championship for Arena in Las Vegas next week. So everybody, got a lot going on in Magic. I'm sure we'll have plenty to talk about. Until next week, I'm Corbin Hostler. Everybody, thank you for listening to Brainstorm Brewery.
I'm Jason Alt. You're welcome for listening to Brainstorm Brewery.
And I'm DJ. I didn't get like a catchphrase or anything like that. I just good night.